What would it be like if you didn't have to come to hospital? What if you didn't have to get sick? What if you got stronger as you worked your way along life? What if we talked about as time goes on, you don't get quote unquote older, you get better. You develop, you know? What's the energy and why is the energy here? I thought would be a good place to catch you guys up with everything that we're going to do before we go forward. Would that be good? Would you like that? Yeah. So just briefly, how I came across the opportunity to discover the energy was that, you know, I'm a Western doctor and gastroenterologist and internist and have been working at that for 25, 28 years, long time. And back actually, really 1980s or so, I was actually walking through my office area and then walking over to the hospital to see patients. And I was getting such excitement that all the patients were getting well. So you know how when you get on a roll, you sort of say, okay, this is working, that's working. These patients are getting well. And what I was working with was all the new equipment, the new endoscopic equipment to be able to examine people and have them go home right away. Be able to take out tumors and have them go home right away. So it was really fascinating because that was a whole change in paradigm for how medicine had been practiced for a long time. So this was like actually a demarcation period, and I got the opportunity to bring that out with other people in Western medicine. So I was working in 2 offices and teaching UCLA and having really a great time. But you know how when you're really excited and things are working, you have other ideas, right? And so I was walking down the aisles in the halls in UCLA, signing my notes. And as I walked past one room, this just experience came over me as if I was transfixed that what would it be like if nobody had to come here at all? You know, what would it be like if you didn't have to come to hospital? What if you didn't have to get sick? What if you got stronger as you worked your way along life? What if we talked about as time goes on, you don't get quote unquote older, you get better. You develop, you know, like wine, you understand? Wine gets better and stronger, becomes more developed. Cheeses, same thing. So there's a lot of examples that you as a human functioning organism, it could be possible. Now, were there any examples for me at that time? No, none. There wasn't even Starbucks coffee then. There wasn't croissant. There wasn't, barely had vitamin shops. So the excitement that I had at that moment about this great idea really didn't have a place to land except with me. And so I had to carry it in my heart, in my head. And I talked to other doctors and they were interested or not interested? Nah, not even close. Why? They're hard. They fought like heck to get to the university. You don't still get to that university and work in that department in gastroenterology and work in the research department and in the public area and take care of all the patients unless you fought your way through gazillion other people. Because it's a pyramid system with the top schools and hospitals in the United States for training in especially gastroenterology. So they were not interested at all. They said, we're already busy. Why, there's no research on this. This is like New England Journal or something. You can do a search. There's nothing there on what you're talking about. So I got no reinforcement from the people who were my colleagues, who I respected and really admired them because we all had fought together to get to this certain place where you were able to collaborate and connect with the best doctors of the best doctors in the best hospitals throughout the whole world. And that didn't dull my excitement, though. I still said, it would really, really be great if it would be possible if we didn't have to use penicillin, if people could actually get stronger, if people actually had some way of finding that they could become more vital and resist all kinds of problems rather than have to take them on and experience them and slowly get through them and maybe go to some hospital for a while or some medication for a while and then finally get better. So you have all these periods where you're out, life, what I'm talking about? Life goes on like this and then all of a sudden you have a period where you're out. Those periods where you have some kind of medical or physical or emotional or financial kerfuffle. where it goes down like this. And then finally you work your way out of it. And some people are happier when they work it out, and some people are like beaten up, right? What if that whole process could also be removed? Because to me, I was already clear that process of those long dips where you have to really fight things and it pulls you down, that wears on you to the extent that accentuates your illness. So that, or the opportunity for you to even get an illness. You see that? So this has later been proven in all kinds of research, which I'm sure you're familiar with. But the key is that it's not only stress, but it's all kinds of things that take up your vital energy. And how does that vital energy get replaced? For most people, it's not that easy. And so then they go through these long periods of rest or long periods of fighting, and then slowly they can recover. So I said, what if all that didn't have to happen? What if it could go like this? What if it could keep going up? What if you could get stronger, more alert, more able, more perceptive, more clear? Life kept becoming more and more not only exciting, not because you're excited, but because it's actually exciting. You're actually perceiving all the great stuff. Like when you walk in an orchard, and you find out, hey, the fruit is actually coming off the trees. Let's have one, What if your life was like that rather than going, I wonder if this orchard will ever bear fruit? And your life is like that, You wake up each day and you want to know, I wonder if this day is going to bear fruit or not. What if each day you woke up and all of a sudden, what fruit am I going to pick today? So that would require a life that was in these categories of vital, vibrant, fully living and growing and expanding in a wonderful way. So what I did, and a lot of you know about this, is I went on long periods of investigation. And we're going to go into more detail about that at another talk. But basically on this look at the energy, I went on a long investigation. I didn't even know it was going to be the energy. I just knew there was going to be some other modality. So I went a lot of places, and everybody knows that I went all up and down California and throughout the United States and then Central America and South America. No, I didn't do this all in one day. It took a long time. It took a number of years, okay? 1 year? No. 2 years? No. 3 years? No. 4 years? No. 5 years, 6, 7, 8. It took a lot of years with no reinforcement. Some people say, well, you had a good time, didn't you? I said, not always. No. Where I went was a lot of places, usually every 3 months around the world, looking for something that might have this modality that could take care of that long dip that people have to go through and actually make you more excited and feeling better about your life and yourself every day. So Central America, South America, North Pole, Indonesia, China, or the sides of China, not really Indochina, Japan, Russia, all throughout Europe, met a lot of great people and worked on a lot of different new projects and saw what they had to offer. And all of it was rudimentary. And it wasn't anything that I could bring back to UCLA and say, this is a new thing we're going to use and people are going to be well. And we don't even have to worry about them getting sick again because they'll have these, this great resistance and strength in their bodies that they will be able to keep replenishing, which was my goal. I wanted everyone to be independently strong and able and go do what you wanted to do. Because that's when life becomes really your own. It's your own, wow, what am I going to do here? So finally, I ended up going to China towards the end of my travail. And in China, I had a great time working there in the hospitals. There's a lot of great stories about things that I did in working in the pharmacies and working in the acupuncture areas. It was all very, very interesting. And sometimes, if you've ever seen a Harry Potter movie where that guy's going around looking for his different potions and herbs, that's copied completely from the pharmacy that I was working in, only it was much bigger and much dirtier. His was clean, I guess, for photography. But this was, I was always surprised that in China at that stage, this is before the modernization of China, that things were, if they were dirty, they were dirty. That was it. You didn't really, they didn't really make an effort to make things super clean. It wasn't like our whole process in the West where everything has to be, immaculately clean and there's no bug anywhere. They felt that was part of the whole process of, living through those things. Later they changed, but I would open up a drawer and pull out some whatever. I had no idea. And plus my Mandarin wasn't that good at the time. And I would pull out, some wing of a bird or something. And then they'd say, okay, we're going to boil that. And we put all these things together. And there'd be this herb cocktail that was boiling and smelled not good. And so we had big open windows to take the fragrance out or the odor out. And then we would serve these to the patients. And I tried all of them. And some of them you could tell would give you a certain beneficial effect. Other ones just made you feel, other ways. And I saw some benefits of these, but still wasn't enough for me. I said, okay, this is more like Western medicine. This isn't going to really allow me to cut through to a whole different way that people can deal with their life. So eventually, and this is a much longer story we can go into sometime, I actually was able to get connected with some people, some doctors who then connected me to other people, who then took me on a long journey up some mountains to finally I got to a place where I got to see the thing I'd been looking for almost 10 years. And that was this compound near a temple where there was a grand master and some devotees and then some people being brought up the mountain, other people being taken down, who were actually getting treated with the energy, or what they called the energy at that time. And what I later found out was this energy they were using was, now this is where, things actually work in your life when you don't even know that it's going to turn out that well. It's something that you made a goal on, you kept going for it. You kept your focus on saying, I'm not going to fall off the chance of really discovering this because it would be so great if I could. And so actually I got to see them treat people without touching them. And I got to see them have people get well from all kinds of problems. And being a Western doctor who'd studied medicine for so long and done research, I used that clinical eye to say, well, if I'm going to bring it back, it's going to have to fit all these criteria. And it did. That was what astounded me. So I was just thrilled to be there. And then to make another long story short, which we'll tell you, as we go along in other programs, they not only let me observe, but over a period of time, they actually let me learn. And actually, after I got to learn the techniques, I kept going up the level of what it would take to be able to not only learn them and deliver them, but be able to take on a greater number of people at a time. When I was over there. And finally I got, as anyone would want to, made it through all the very, very difficult levels that one has to go through to finally be able to be a person who could deliver this energy transmission to you guys so that you could actually get connected. And that's what the treatments are about. In the energy treatments, you're actually getting connected to this wonderful energy source that's in the universe. And this energy source is not much different than other vibrations in the universe, except it's so useful and it's so helpful. And it makes you so much stronger and more able and more agile and actually growing in a direction you'd like to grow in terms of maybe you want to create something in science, or you wanted to create something in your own life, or you wanted to get stronger. And I didn't know that when I brought it back to the United States. I actually went through the entire process and became the only Westerner who's non-Chinese who's ever been trained in this modality at all, and still am. And the key is that, including the fact that I'm a doctor. So I was able to test again in my office over the years whether it would work on this. I wonder if it'll work on that. I wonder if this person's problem would get well. And so I was on this rampage of everybody that didn't get well from any of the regular modalities, or didn't get well quick enough, or had some other problem. Like they say, I'm having a problem with my husband, or I'm having a problem with da-da-da-da. And I said, well, I can use this new modality that I learned in China. Would you be interested? And they said, oh yeah, we trust you. We've known you for years. Fine. Just what do we do? I go, you don't have to do anything. You just lay on the table and I'll sit in the room. And in those days I used to make the room dark. Now I don't do that. But then I would give them this wonderful connection to the energy. Don't have to touch. Sometimes you can touch with using to connect you up, but gave this connection. And then I said, all you have to do is do these exercises afterwards. And then I want you to report to Rosie in the front what happened. you don't come back to me. Because I didn't want them checking with me. I wanted them just to make their own reports, because I figure if you got well from some problem that was bothering you for a long time, or if you had a relationship with your husband or your spouse, your family member, and all of a sudden was getting a lot better massively, you'd want to come back. What was that I did? You'd go, what was in that bottle? Oh, there's no bottle. It was just in a room, right? You'd be actually fascinated. So that was part of my theory, that to get people to report on their own. So we had people who kept calling back in going, I want another appointment. Whatever you did, it's working and I really like it. And what else do I do? You mean all I have to do is go through my day and just do these simple exercises and sleep? What is this sleep about? Well, sleep is really important in the energy because it gives a chance for it to work and metabolize through your body. And how much can you take on at one time? How much can you use? It depends on where you start in your life and where you want to go. Some people come to me and they want to go from here to here. I just want things to work better with my company and a few of the employees. And, that kind of person needs a certain kind of connection and they'll be fine. Other people say, I want to go from nothing to on TV getting an award at the Academy Awards. People have come to me for that. So you see that's a much bigger gap. So that would take more of a connection, and you'd have to consistently keep going in this energy flow, trying to accomplish that. So what did I do in this early part? You have to understand, I still, as a medical doctor, was not so anxious, not anxious, I wasn't so excited. I was a little bit anxious about not letting it out until I'd proven everything, So I took this time to have all kinds of people, different races. And finally, I checked it off. I'd treated every race, every ethnicity, every religion, because this wasn't about cult. This is about you as an individual being able to go forward and be strong and discover your own life, just like we were when you were a little kid. Remember when you were a little kid and you decide, well, today, Dad, I think I'm going to be a fireman. And then next month, you've changed, and I think I'm going to be, a veterinarian. Wait, what happened to fireman? Well, I saw Joey's dog and that doctor took care of him and I thought that was cool. And then, 6 months later, Dad, I think I decided I'm going to drive someday. I want to drive a Ferrari. I'm going to be a race car driver. And you go, well, what happened to veterinarian? Well, maybe I'm going to be that too. You understand that excitement, and you all take it at that stage as if the little one is a little bit confused, don't you? You take it as if, well, they just got so many choices. They don't know what they're doing. They don't understand life. They have that connection that I'm giving you. You had it at one time. It's very, very little connection, usually, when you, as you graduate from birth and come up and, you're half-year-old and then 1-year-old, that connection gets less and less and less until finally people, actually get moved away from that connection and don't even get to access it, except on rare moments in your life. And what's really great is once you actually receive this energy transmission, and do the exercises, you actually start becoming like this little kid a bit. Only you're an adult now, and you have all these options about, I think I'll do this. And it's like, well, you have any training in that? No, but I think I can do it. That feeling like I think I can do it, even though I don't have the training, like it's exciting, fun, and thinking this would be a worthwhile time spent on earth for me to do this. So then you're self-fulfilling while you're in the process. Nobody has to beat you and say you have to do this, or hold a carrot out and say you're going to get this. So I tested all types of people with what their goals were and what their interests were with this wonderful energy. And this energy is 5,000 years old. It was actually not something which was brought into the public ever, even in China. It wasn't something that was publicly allowed, actually. It was for the emperors. It was so that they could rule their country and be a notch up over all the fray of what goes on in a country that's so big with so many different people, with so many different languages as China is, okay? So they wanted just to make sure that the emperor and the emperor's people who were administering the government were not only powerful, but were clear. And in those days, back in those days, that the energy was being utilized strictly for this purpose, some famous people actually came out of this discipline. And you read their writings now. There's not very many of them that have written anything, but Lao Tzu, if you ever read any of his writings, it will give you an idea of being in the energy and what it was, how phenomenal it was back then without actually having the words we have today of what was going on. So they have all these other words which will confuse you. But the experience is actually quite there. And then Buddhist talks about this, and Confucius and a number of other great people back in those days. But in your day today, what all you need to do is understand how the energy is going to work for you, not how it worked for them. And that's what's so great about what I found out with this energy is that as long as you make a target. Actually, I'm thinking of painting a target, if it wouldn't bother you, just to remind everybody, one of these targets, shoot an arrow at, Chris, and then we put it right over here, and then I'll go, see that target? Memorize that picture. And that's what you want to do every day. And the energy is like an arrow that you're going to focus towards that target, and then it's going to really support you. And anybody who's ever done anything like golf or tennis, you know that if you're just distracted and you're holding your racket like this and looking at the crowd and the ball comes over and bump, you don't even catch it. You have to actually direct your attention and direct the energy towards the sport that you're going to be doing. And if you have a cell phone right now, you might want to turn it off so you can hear the rest. But the key is that the energy, I found that people could direct it. That not only could I give them the access to it so they could have more and more of it every day, but that they could direct it themselves towards what they wanted to do. And slowly I'm coming out and having a number of people with significant problems getting well, and a number of people with significant goals getting phenomenal results. I mean, really phenomenal. I'm talking about physically or relationship-wise or health-wise or high vitality-wise. They were just blowing themselves away. You'll learn more about them. Some of these people are on the website actually now, finally, giving stories to you all about how they're using the energy. And they became quite famous. One person I'm thinking about, who some of you even know, he came to me and he said he wanted to be a screenwriter. He says, is this energy going to help me become a screenwriter? Do you know what screenwriter is? If you go to LA, you have to know what screenwriter is. If you're not in LA, those people that write all that stuff that makes for the television or the movies, where are you going to find those scripts? Who's going to use your script? And so remember, with the energy, I'm never appalled or upset that you come up with some goal. I didn't tell them that you want to be in a profession where there's a gazillion people trying to be screenwriters. Most of them are getting rejected. It's down to less than 1% of even the population who are trying to get things accepted by the movie people or theatrical people that are even considered. And those that are considered usually don't even make it either. Maybe there's a small pilot, and then that's trash, and that's the end of your lifelong script of your story that you thought was so great is now in the shredder. I didn't tell them any of that, right? Because the energy is not about that. The energy is a whole different world, and that's why we have the yin-yang symbol here for you to always watch. In that, in the energy, you've always got this opportunity to say, oh, there is a difference today. There is something else I could do today besides have thoughts about what everybody else is thinking about, or what my concerns are, my worries, or my upsets, or my barriers, or my resistances, okay? And if you just picture that you were in the energy here, and you always had a choice to be on this side, but you also, in life, you get two choices, and they always look, pretty much the same, and so you could actually choose to be on this side, and then discover what those results are like, okay? But as you notice, there's very little of this color over here, very little. So if you are 100% in the energy, you will always still have experiences that will allow you to grow, which is the purpose of that, these resistances, that'll still give you challenges, like you want to discover a new drug for a vaccine, or you want to discover, like this gentleman did want to discover some way of becoming a great writer. Okay, so you'll have this challenge. So it'll appear like a challenge rather than like an overwhelm. Are you getting this clear? So the symbol has hundreds of interpretations, and we definitely could go into that another time. I had to learn all that and was joyously learning it and drawing the different diagrams and figuring out the different degrees and what it means now and what it meant back then. And there's these old books where you throw sticks and then you turn to a certain page in the book and it tells you what the sticks mean. That's supposed to mean what your life is like. And then there's a book even before that where that book came from, and then you can study that. And those pages are filled with grease from who knows how long. And the investigations I had in China were amazing because remember I was there before there was even cell phones. So it was a lot with old books and people that I had to really interact with and get information from. And the information about what it was going to do in the West, I was discovering with you all. And so back to this writer, this budding writer doesn't know that he's going to go into this, ridiculously impossible profession where a lot of people end up even, depressed, right? You hear about writers getting depressed or they're on strike or something like that. He says, so I said, okay, great. We'll use the energy for that. But first I got to find out a little bit about you. So what was your writer's training in, you went to college, right? He says, yeah. What was your writer's training in college? He says, none. I said, really, none? He says, none. I was in sports. I was a sports enthusiast. And I said, okay, great. But remember, in the energy, you're not going to take some big negative thing or small negative thing or many negative things as having anything to do with you creating your goal. As long as you can put it together with the energy, you can find a way around. This energy is a lot like when you recognize how water can work its way all the way around rocks and end up all the way in the sea. There's this whole passageway that water takes. There's this incredible thing about the energy that it has a vibrational state, which is not something that you guys are really, really familiar with, but we could go into that just for a minute. Vibration, what does that mean to you? It's like a tuning fork, right? You hear it going like this, right? So you know now that even though we're not perceiving them, there's all kinds of radio waves going by and there's all kinds of TV waves going by, and we're not perceiving them necessarily. Some people who say you better be careful that you're around all these waves all the time, or is there a way you could pick them up with this kind of device or this kind of device? And what's really interesting about the whole story of vibrations in terms of radios and televisions is very similar to what this energy is like, if you can follow along with me for just a moment. If you just follow, I know some of you are just on the planet and you're very, very young, and some people are in their 80s and 90s who are here listening to this, but imagine that you were back then at the beginning of television, okay? Can you imagine that? Can you imagine what one of those sets looked like? Do you remember it's a big box and has a little tiny screen, okay? And then what's inside the box that heats up tremendously because you cannot put it too close to the wall or there'll be a fire. You have to keep it away from the wall and keep it cool, never near a radiator because it heats up so much because there was big tubes in there. Remember the tubes that were in there? Have you ever gone to an old shop, antique shop? The tubes are big in back, not the one in front only, but inside. And those tubes do what? They last a certain amount of time, then they blast off, right? And then you got to get the tube man to come out, put in new tubes, and see if your TV will work again for this little tiny screen. And what the TV is doing is actually what? It's receiving certain waves, vibrations, remember? So certain waves, picking them up, send it to a screen and showing you whatever the show is that they want to represent. And don't worry, we'll get back to the writer. I just want you to understand this whole process of what it is to have a understanding of the energy. So what happened over years? Well, people invented what after that? Transistors, right. So transistors were these really cool things because then you could take this radio that was so heavy on next to your bed or around, or the television that was so heavy and couldn't move it around once you got it, and you got transistors, became much smaller. Some of you are old enough to remember transistors, please. Okay, so I'm not the only one. Okay, but then there was all these great, someone nod their head. Okay, so there was a thing called transistors, and transistors allowed you to have a Walkman or a Runman. You could actually run and listen to music. You could pick up the waves that were going while you were running and listen to music, and you could run better because you loved music and you got to record your own. And what happened to the television, though? The television, the back end that was so hot and heavy and terrible to work with, shrunk. It became this little, much smaller box and had all these transistors in it. And then the screen got much bigger, right? And we all got excited. And we thought, that was enough, right? I mean, really, nobody was really upset about watching transistor TV. They went home and they said, okay, what's on TV tonight? And they watched it. Nobody complained in front of their TV, this TV is not as good as the old tube TV, or I wonder if they'll ever fix anything better. No, it was fine. It was an advancement. It was exciting. It was something new. It was something great that you could use. And you were, huh? That's right. The channels weren't very strong, weren't very many in those days. And depending on where you were living, whether you could even get the channels. Yeah. So now that we have somebody who remembers what I'm talking about. So the rest of you have to imagine what these things were like. But there was these things called transistor TVs. And transistor television was cool because you could move the TV from room to room. You had portability because it was a little lighter. It wasn't this big, heavy bomb that you moved around that could explode or could cause a fire, which was the tubes. And now we had transistors, which worked really a lot of the times. Unless what happened, you banged it too much or you dropped your Walkman or anything happened to the thing, it would slow, it wouldn't work as well and you'd have to get another one. But they were so functional and so much fun that we didn't care. We just went out and got another transistor something. And then you could listen to whoever was popular as far as your music at that time. And just like everything else that goes on today, everybody wanted one. So that was a goal for people to have those. Just like with the energy, if you get hooked into the value and the fact that there's so many vibrations in the energy that you can use in your own life, everybody will want one. Everyone will just actually get, what are you kidding? I want to use all that stuff. Just like people with transistors saying, I want one of those rather than the tube thing. But then what happened, even though everybody was satisfied, they're feeling good, and you would be those people, you wouldn't be thinking I'm unsatisfied watching your show. What happened? Advancement occurred. Evolution of our culture. They came out with printed circuits, right? Printed circuits and what? Microchips, right? So remember microchips, those little chips? Do you know that word? You do. Come on. That's what your life is run by right now, these microchips. And printed circuits and microchips allowed you to take a television, which once was like a bomb, and then the back end was like this, to now it's what? The whole television is this small. This small. The guts of the TV is that big. And now the screen, which was here, remember in the beginning, is now, wow. You got it? You can have a huge screen. You have a screen bigger than here, and you can run it by a little tiny thing, which is a printed circuit, and these wonderful things that are made with silica and other items that allow you to do little microchip work, and the chips keep getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, so that your enjoyment of whatever you're doing can get more and more like natural, so that you can have screens everywhere, and you can just pick up watching these same waves that were back in the television days. Only now it's much easier to get them. Now it's much quicker, and now it's much more mobile. Okay? So as you get this energy in this entire course that you're in right now, and if you continue to want to stay with this energy throughout your life, stay with it each month, I mean, why wouldn't you? I mean, would you want to continue to drink water every day? Would you want to continue to take in oxygen every day? If God gives you this energy that you can actually utilize and take it so that you can keep going along, evolve, and get stronger and more perceptive, and find your own vital talents that you could use them and then go into high performance, the world's open to you, right? Just like the world opened to people once they moved from each one of these levels of getting TV through to finally the microchips. And now you have a little thing in your pocket and you can watch television anywhere we want to go. And you can also send it anywhere you want to go. 2 or 3 people can watch the same thing. You can actually communicate. Understand? Multi connections. So this energy is another step up from that. Okay. It's just like someday you actually will be able to see it as clearly as you can not see it with transistors and not see it with chips. You just sort of enjoy using it, don't you? I mean, how many people have seen the waves inside the microchip? How many people? None. It'll be the same way with you guys in the energy. Once you start using it, you'll go, hey, this thing's great. Let's just use it. Let's go create something. So what can you create with this energy? Well, it's unlimited, and I found that out. You'll see that by watching people on the website who are talking about some very, very famous people, some people who are in your life every day, some people who actually make products that you have in your pocket right now, or will be buying as you check out from the grocery store every day. I mean, all kinds of things that you consider normal. These are people who are extremely successful who've created, a wonderful thing in their life, but they realize, oh my gosh, now that I created that, what can I do everywhere else? What can I do in my relationship? What can I do in my strength? What can I do? I've been sacrificing in my business all this time. What can I do as far as getting healthy again. What's the fastest way? Oh, I better try that thing called the energy, this ancient energy that allows you to get stronger and stronger. Doesn't matter what your age is. And become more able, doesn't matter what your age is. And you've got all kinds of stories about that, where people, had goals that were just phenomenal for a person of 70 or 80 or 85, 90, and they were able to accomplish them. And we can go into those stories, which will blow your mind. But back to this writer, or was he going to be a writer is the question. So the world would have told this guy, you don't have any background, you want something, good for you. Knock yourself out, drink a Red Bull and you'll be fine. And just try. So, but the energy isn't that way. Energy just says, you have other options at every moment. And the fact is you've got all these options here. You've got this little problem you want to deal with. You've got all these options to attack this, and you're actually going to succeed if you can discover the option. So I'm hooking him up to those vibrations to do that. So I had to ask him, I said, well, you don't have any training. Okay, but do you know anybody who's in this field that probably could help you? No. He says, no, I don't know anybody in this field. What about your family? I mean, how'd you get interested in writing? You must have writers in your family, right? Somebody who was your role model when you're growing up. No, nobody in my family. Everybody in my family is into sports or law. That's it. We don't have anybody who's into writing. So I said, okay, well, we're a little bit deficit here. For example, is to get you to sort of connect to the vibration of, if you ever saw the vibration of what it would be to be a great writer. That's what I was fishing for. So then I said, what are you doing now? Since you've been a writer, you're probably like taking classes, or you're understudying somebody. I mean, that's what, when I have actors come in, they're always understudying somebody. So he said, no, to make ends meet, I work every day now still. I still want to be a writer, but I work every day. I said, well, what do you do? He says, I serve coffee at the local coffee store. I said, you serve the coffee? He says, yeah, they make the coffee, and then I'm the one that brings it to them. I serve them. I said, okay, so you're a coffee dealer. He says, yeah, we call it barista. And I go, oh, great, it's nice. Barista is going to equal famous Hollywood writer. I mean, it makes no sense, right? So in the normal world, just like when I was back at the hospital, remember, trying to see if this could ever be discovered, you'd be like those other doctors. You'd go, knock yourself out, go try, drink 2 Red Bulls. That's maybe you'll jam yourself up, that something will come out, and maybe you'll be able to get it in, but your chances are getting smaller and smaller, right? I mean, really, you don't have that great background. You don't have great icons that you can refer to, or people that you really will help you. You've never had the experiences of being graded for your stuff. I mean, no one's ever looked at your way of talking and writing. So you've never even had critiques, except on how you carry coffee. So he said, yeah, I still want to be a writer. So I said, okay, if you really want to be a writer, I said, you got to know something. This is going to be a dramatic change in your life. Remember I told you some people go from here and they go all the way to here. And it's a huge change when they're in this lecture series, and you'll discover that too as you make some goals like that. And so I said, you put you in the lecture series and you'll get a treatment, but you're going to have a huge change in the way your life is going to appear to you. Are you sure you really want this? If we're going to have you become a writer, because you'll start bringing in, just like, remember with tennis, you start focusing on your racket, and there's a different way than just sitting here with your racket going like this. You're actually focusing, and you can actually return the ball. All of a sudden, those appropriate vibrations come down your arm, through your head, and wham, you do it. Do you know how those things go down? No. Can you see them? Not really. I mean, we can't really cut you open and watch. Sometimes we can measure them, but that's not really the way to find it. So he says, yeah. So I said, okay, now look, this is one of these moments of silence here. Are you sure you want to be connected like this? This is going to be a real change for you to have all this, excitement and energy about writing running through your body. He said, yeah, that's what I want. So I said, great, we'll do it. So we did it, and he did the exercises afterwards, and then he went back to serving coffee. And then he started making his goals, which is one of the things you're going to be doing in this course we're doing right now. You're going to be having goals. Why do you have goals? You make goals everywhere in your brain every day, like I'm going to go to the gas station in the afternoon. But what these goals are about are you actually focusing on where you want to go in life using this energy, and right away and successfully and more powerfully and with more results and with better friends every day, so you can keep going, evolving through this whole wonderful planet and discovering it, rather than having one of those stories like those people on afternoon television. You ever hear those people on afternoon? There's always some horrible story, and they're hurrying, or either they're fighting each other or something like that. All the soaps. So this gentleman, he went away, and he then communicated to me every once in a while, and he would tell me about his victories. And then I would tell him something else to do about where he was at. Because, I'm not, you think that once you get this energy connection, I need to start hitting you and keep encouraging you and motivate you and make you really want to do this. No, it's not necessary. You're going to have that feeling on your own. You're going to be your self-driven person that goes, hey, I'm really excited about this. I really want to do this. Let me go find out what I need to learn and where we need to go. And you'll be self-motivating. And then we'll give you more tools to actually get yourself even stronger every day so that you can move up the ladder of what you want to accomplish. And we've done that with athletes who've gone all the way to professional sports and people in the Olympics. So with this gentleman, he would call me back in a few months, and he says, well, you won't believe it. I still have my coffee job, but I changed locations. I said, oh, okay, where are you doing now? He says, I'm now carrying coffee at a studio. I said, well, okay, that's up. That's something, that's better. This is a true story. You're all doubtful right now. I can see your face. You want the rest of the story or not? Yeah. You sure? All right, so this is early days. This is early days for you guys. These ones all like, is this going to work or not? Who knows? Now we know it's going to work with everybody in every single discipline, whatever your goal to what you want to be. But this guy's starting from not only zero, but sort of negative because, years have gone by. He's lost time. You ever say that to yourself? Like, I've lost so much time. Why didn't I do this earlier? I should have gotten on this. There's no way for me. Right? You've heard that before. I call it the matrix, which is sort of all these resistances you run into in your life. And I just abbreviate as that word, all those orange cones when you roll up on the freeway and it blocks you. And you have to determine another route. So I said, well, good, great. Keep going and see if maybe you can connect with someone there. And so I said, the energy will reach out for you. And actually your goal of being a writer will happen as long as you keep doing the exercises and keep connecting every day to these vibrations. They download to you. It will create this entire vibrational state in your body so that your actions, your thoughts will all correlate with that as you go forward in your day, even if you're carrying coffee, I told him. So he said, good. I said, look to see if there's a chance that, maybe. I said, do you have any scripts that you've written yet that you can show anybody? And he said, no, not really. I said, well, that might be a good idea to have something in your pocket for a chance that if somebody said, hey, what are you doing here? So what happened was really funny is that he called me, said, that did happen. I met some people and they asked me, what am I doing here? I said, what are you really interested in? And I told them writing. And they said, well, that's interesting. Our writing department is overfull. We really have too many people here, but nothing to prevent you from writing. I mean, this is, creative building. If you've ever been to Disney Studios or any of the other great studios, it's really creative in there. People are really having a great time. And so the people around says, yeah, knock yourself out, write something. And you can even, we'll, even if it's good enough, we'll even consider it when we consider the material every day. And so he got all excited. He called me and said, well, what should I do? I said, duh, this is your chance. Start writing. And I didn't tell him how to write. You got this part? I didn't tell him what to write on. I didn't tell him who to give it to. And I didn't tell him how long it should be, how short it should be. You have to do that. You have to figure out how you want to write. You have to figure out what kind of doctor you want to become. You want to be OBGYN or you want to be neurosurgeon? You have to decide which of those two different fields. You got to learn different techniques. I said, but you now need to really, use the energy and see what happens. So what was so fascinating was he then started staying up at night after the coffee business every day and writing scripts. And then he started submitting them to the writer's pool. And lo and behold, one of his got accepted. So they wanted to know, who is this guy? He's the guy who carries coffee. So they said, we better tell him to come in here because we're considering possibly, using a variation of a script. And interesting, huh? So he went from there to there to there. So all of a sudden he came to the meeting and they asked him, who are you? And where did this come from? And so then he had to tell the story, which everybody laughed at. But they said, the script's not bad. So his script eventually, that one and another one that he wrote got accepted. He still has the coffee job. Okay, he never liked to lose that. But now he's getting a chance to, for free, submit these scripts and see if they get accepted. Well, what happened is he kept writing so many scripts that they said, we don't want you to do coffee anymore. We want you to work in the writer's pool. Victory! So that's it, right? We've made it. You've gone from 0 to 1,000, and that's the end of the story. It's not the end of the story. Are you still with me or not? You're with me? Okay. So this is going to happen to you in your life. This is the same thing that's going to happen to you in this course that you're in right now and with the treatments. Same thing. You're going to actually have goals like that may not even make sense. And using the material that we're going to give you each time as you go along each month in this series, and we really want you to be in this series, register for a year so that you got a whole year to work every month on this material. And some people actually are smart enough, and you'll see some of them on the website who have been in this energy transmission series, because we keep giving you more and new vibrations, so you get more and new things you can do. Some have been doing this for years with me, and their lives have just exploded. So back to the writer. Are you still with me, or are you not? All right. Yeah. So the writer, who's now a coffee guy, don't do coffee anymore. He's now doing writing every day. So he calls me and he says, well, what do I do now? I said, do you want to go back to coffee? He said, no, I had enough of coffee. I said, then you better keep writing a lot and give them a lot of things that they can choose from, so maybe more of them will be accepted. How many other guys are writing? He says, oh, there's about 10. So you're the 11th guy. I said, okay, fine. So start writing. So as he worked over the months, though, more and more of his scripts got accepted. So finally they said, okay, no more coffee guy for you, which was his joke name. And they said, you're now part of the writing pool. So he had made it, just like I said, it's success. It's not one script, but you get to write every day. And he was the happiest guy in the world for a period of time. But then that changed. He called me and said, I'm not happy now because I still haven't, I want to write great scripts. I want people to really write, they're using my material, but I want to write, home run, that the whole script is used. They don't chop any part out of it. And you see it on television or you see it in the movies. I said, good, that's the way to go. See, each level you go up. Back when he was still carrying coffee, that wasn't so real, but now that becomes more real. As you get your medical degree, it becomes more real that you can go on and be an OBGYN doctor and deliver babies, because now you have the degree. So now he's got this writer's pool that he goes to every day, and he's getting a small salary, better than coffee, a barista. And he kept writing and writing until finally his scripts were so good that, what's this guy's name? Owen, the comedian guy. Owen Wilson. And Woody Harrelson wanted to meet him. Yeah. In one of the scripts he wrote. It just so happened to work its way over to those guys because they were involved. You see, you write it here and then it goes through all these other stages. So it finally ends up with the actors who then get to evaluate and how to do it. And then they wanted to meet the writer. So here's my client who now says they want to fly me to the other side of the United States to go meet these two guys. What do I do? I go, do you have any clothes besides the clothes you wore when I saw you the last time, with the torn jeans and torn shirt and, your mussed up hair? And he says, no, I bought a few new things. I said, wear those and just go there and make a goal, because these are going to be new vibrations you're going to use to be able to communicate with these really veteran actors who have been in multiple movies, to make a goal that you're going to communicate. They're going to understand what you want to do for them in terms of acting and what you want them to provide for the film, because it's your ideas. So he went there and he told me the story about being in their trailer, and he said they all laughed at what he was saying, and then they didn't like some things so much, but they wanted to change it. So on the spot, he gave them other ideas. And so then now he's got two friends in the movie industry who are promoting his writing back to the studio. So what happened is, after that was a big success, he then went back to the studios, and everybody there was, like this. They're all like all happy. Coffee Man makes it to star writer for one film. Everybody said, you made it for one film. You'll probably be, a one, what do they call it? One horse. What's it? One and done. There's another thing too. One hit wonder. You're going to be a one hit wonder. You got just like remember when I was going out for the energy to find it, everybody said, forget it. He got no from his colleagues because they were jealous, right? And plus now all of a sudden he's being competition. So they said, you'll be a one hit wonder. He told me all these, dark stories about what people said. And he said, do you think I'm going to be a one hit wonder? I said, no, not. You have the vibrations now. This isn't positive thinking. You can not only feel it, you think it, your perceptivity's there, your thinking and creativity's there, you're going to go use it. So what happened is he then kept writing, got more and more success. We'll cut to the end, a couple of years. This all happened over less than 6 years, from barista to now head of the writing pool with his own office and all those other 10 guys are gone, and he has 5 new writers who work under him.
Wow.
And he's the writing teacher. So you can see that same template is going to be for you. You're now going to pick in this course to use the energy. And yes, it'll be just like these small silicon chips that are able to take all these vibrations and be able to use them. You still don't see the vibrations, but it gets smaller and smaller and smaller, more portable and less weight. That's what you're getting in touch with. With these vibrations, it's even smaller than that in terms of you'd have to use electron microscope to see them. But you can use them and feel them and watch your own life. You're the television now. You're the one who's taking in all the vibrations, and you're the one making it happen. You see that?